Round 9, Friday night draft stars. A couple of interesting games here. We've got Raiders and the Dogs, and the Panthers and the Eels, and I'm really looking forward to that Panthers-Eels game. It'll be a nice, close contest, you would hope. Given the fact that the Eels got smashed by my Cowboys last week, you'd expect a bounce-back game there. Probably a Panthers win, but that's that with that one. And the Raiders-Dogs, I don't have a clue which way that's going to go. So let's jump into the outside backs, and Dylan Brown has actually been moved on Draftstars into the outside backs after his couple of weeks in the centres. So now that he's back at 6, this brings a pretty interesting opportunity for people who want to spend that little bit extra in the outside backs for someone that's going to be fairly consistent in that 6 role. We've seen his scores over the season, and really, apart from that game in round 1, any game at 6, he's got an average of 40, a score of 40 or more, with a couple of 80s in there. So he could be a very interesting option for your squad if you want to go for Dillbags Brown in this game. In terms of the other guys we're looking at, Taylor May, Josh Adokar's had a really good couple of weeks. Can he keep that up? I'm not exactly sure, but 3 over 50 scores in his last 4. As he's finally picked up a bunch of tries, so could potentially do that again. There's obviously other decent options as well with guys like Jordan Rapana. He's gone back to the wing, so is that too much of a move at 13,690 when you can go for guys like Dylan Edwards, who's been really, really good. Over those 3 of the last 5 weeks has been really, really good. And then you can go a lot cheaper with guys like Matt Duffy, who's been really solid with a 38 as his low in his past 3, and up against the Canberra Raiders, which he should be able to score pretty well again. Guys like Isaac Tungo at the 11,700, and then you got Stephen Crichton at 10.6. So plenty of options in this bottom section here for the outside backs as well. Charles Nichol-Cookstar goes back to fullback, and only has that 1 good score. So I'd be reluctant to push him into your side at the moment if you're looking for an outside back in this Friday evening games. All right, the halves and the hookers, and it's pretty clear that Cleary's the man that you need to be plugging and playing and building your team around for sure. You've got guys like Moses as well, but I think he's going to have a tougher game against Penrith this week. Starling back to about that 60 minutes, so I think we'll avoid him for now. Jeremy Marshall-King, definitely a solid player, but probably a little bit too expensive in this collection here when you got Matt Burton at 14,770. So coming off a much better game last week, comes up against the Canberra Raiders and hopefully could put on a try or an assist or 2 himself, and make that 14,770 price worth it. So he's definitely an option this week. Happy Coruscant at 13.8. So he's got Sonny Luke on the bench, and that's resulted in a couple of lower minute games and some lower scores. But he definitely has that opportunity to get that 60 plus score and do really well. Schneider this week's an interesting one. So he gets Matt Frawley in the 6 jersey, and with Jared Croker back, it looks like he might lose that goal kicking. So that probably hurts him a little bit, but definitely has an opportunity to score well. Plenty of kicking this week with Frawley there. How much of the kicking he takes, I'm not exactly sure. It's a small gamble to take, but you can make that decision on your own there. Adam Elliott's going to start at hooker again for that 20 minutes and move into the middle. So about 50 minutes in the middle, defending, running the ball for 11,440. I definitely think he can get somewhere around that 38 at a minimum, and anywhere up to that 50 that he got last week. But that was a really, really good game. So somewhere around the 40 mark would be ideal for Adam Elliott in this week. Obviously, Frawley, you have him brought in as a guy that's going to play 6, the full 80 minutes. So at 9K, you definitely have to have him on your radar. And that will be all in the halves and the hooker position. Move to the forwards. I think Tarpanay is just a little bit too expensive now at 21,190. Josh Jackson comes back. Will he go back to those 80 minutes he was playing before he got COVID? So those 3 games there, a low score of 50.3 is pretty expensive now, that 21,000 as well. I'd probably suggest go Papali'i over him. He's dropped for him to be 3rd in price out of these guys, I think is a bit silly. Look at his scores, so consistent. Had 1 bad week against a Cowboys team that pumped them. So I think Papali'i is the man out of this section here. Isaiah Yeo is always going to be good. They're probably your 2 from that section. If you're going a little bit light, obviously TPJ is a potential option of 16.5, but Fisher Harris for me is probably a slightly better one. Has 3 nice scores of his last 4, a 44 and a couple of 54s. For a 14,450 price point, I think you get a bit of value out of him. Madison's been really dominant. 2 of the last 4 games has got in the mid 50s plus, so he's been good, but he's priced pretty much accordingly. Ryan Sutton in the 13 has been scoring solidly as well if you need an over 40 score from a guy at 14,000 there. And then you got Corey Horsburgh. He's probably gained a little bit in price compared to what he was scoring at, which I think we could probably leave out of our side slightly. You got Liam Martin as also a potential boom or bust kind of option, mid 30s or a 60 if he scores a try. So that's what you can do with Martin. And then guys like Nathan Brown, who hasn't been playing as well, we can think about. And a little bit cheaper, you obviously got Sorensen, who's been doing really well at that 10,100. Just had a lighter game last week, which we expect probably a bounce back from him. But don't expect a massive one. We're not exactly sure on the minutes for him. And that'll be all on the forwards for this section. So this is the Friday night games. I wish you all the best of luck. Gamble responsibly, and we'll catch you in the Saturday games.